Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The wind howled across the desolate Martian plains, sweeping up clouds of red dust that obscured the distant horizon. In the heart of the New Eden colony, a lone figure stood atop a crumbling observation tower, eyes scanning the barren landscape for any signs of life. Dr. Elara Cross tightened her grip on the railing, the cold metal biting into her skin through her worn gloves. The once thriving colony had fallen silent in the wake of the alien invasion, its streets now eerily deserted, its people huddled in the underground bunkers, clinging to the hope of survival. Elara's thoughts drifted to the days before the attack, when the colony was a beacon of human achievement. They had come to Mars seeking a new beginning, a chance to build a future on the red planet. The colony had been a marvel of technology and ingenuity, a testament to the resilience and determination of the human spirit. But all of that had changed in an instant. The aliens had struck without warning, their advanced technology overwhelming the colony's defenses in a matter of hours. Communications with Earth had been severed, leaving the colonists isolated and cut off from any hope of rescue. A soft footstep behind her pulled Elara from her reverie. She turned to see Jack Harper, the colony's security chief, approaching with his usual grim expression. His dark hair was matted with sweat, his face lined with exhaustion, but his eyes burned with a fierce determination that had not waned since the invasion began. "They're moving again," Jack said, his voice low and tense. "Patrols are sweeping the southern perimeter. We can't stay hidden forever." Elara nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. "We'll have to strike soon. We can't let them tighten the noose around us any further." Jack glanced at the horizon, where the faint outline of the alien mothership loomed like a dark cloud against the dusky sky. "We're running out of time, Elara. We need a plan, and we need it fast." Elara's gaze followed his, settling on the distant behemoth that had brought so much destruction to their world. "I've been working on something," she said slowly. "But it's risky. We'll need every ounce of ingenuity we have left." "Risky's better than waiting to die," Jack replied, his jaw set in determination. "What do you have in mind?" Elara took a deep breath, her mind piecing together the fragments of a plan that had been forming since the first day of the invasion. "I've been studying the old Earth technology we have in storage, the steam-powered machines, the chemical weapons, even the analog communication devices. They're crude compared to what we've been using, but they have one advantage: the aliens don't know how to counter them." Jack raised an eyebrow, interest piqued. "You think we can use that against them?" Elara nodded. "I'm sure of it. Their technology is far more advanced than ours, but it's also highly specialized. They've never encountered anything like our old machines, and that could give us the edge we need." Jack considered her words, a slow smile spreading across his face. "We turn their strength into a weakness. I like it. But we'll need to act fast. If we're going to pull this off, we'll need to hit them where it hurts." Elara met his gaze, a spark of hope igniting in her chest. "The mothership," she said. "It's the heart of their operation. If we can take it down, we can cripple their entire invasion force." Jack's smile faded, replaced by a steely resolve. "Then that's our target. We'll need a team, small, fast, and ruthless. We'll infiltrate the ship, disable their systems, and bring the whole thing crashing down." Elara nodded, her mind already racing with the details. "Mara will be crucial to this. She knows the old technology better than anyone. She can rig the machines, create the weapons we'll need. And I'll coordinate the attack from here, keep the colony safe while you're on the mission." Jack's expression softened slightly at the mention of Mara. The bond between them had grown stronger with each passing day of the invasion, forged in the fires of battle and loss. "I'll talk to her," he said. "She'll be ready." As Jack turned to leave, Elara reached out and touched his arm, stopping him. "Jack, be careful. This is our last chance." He met her gaze, his eyes filled with a quiet intensity. "We won't fail, Elara. We can't. The underground bunker was a hive of activity as the survivors prepared for the coming battle. Mara Lee stood at the center of it all, her hands moving deftly as she assembled a makeshift weapon from a pile of old parts. The room was filled with the clatter of metal and the hum of machinery as the colonists worked tirelessly to ready themselves for the fight ahead. Mara wiped a bead of sweat from her brow, her mind focused on the task at hand. She was exhausted, her body aching from days of relentless work, but she pushed the fatigue aside. There was too much at stake to give in to weakness. Jack approached her from behind, his presence a comforting weight in the midst of the chaos. "How's it going?" he asked, his voice cutting through the noise. Mara glanced up at him, her lips quirking in a tired smile. "We're getting there. These old machines are temperamental, but they'll do the job." Jack watched her work for a moment, admiration clear in his eyes. "I knew you'd pull it off," he said softly. "You always do." Mara's smile widened, a flush of warmth spreading through her chest at his words. "We're a good team, Jack. We always have been." Jack's expression darkened slightly, a hint of worry creeping into his gaze. "This mission, it's going to be dangerous, Mara. More dangerous than anything we've faced so far." "I know," she replied, her voice steady. "But we don't have a choice. If we don't stop them, we lose everything." Jack reached out and took her hand, squeezing it gently. "Just promise me you'll be careful." Mara met his gaze, her eyes filled with determination. "I promise." They stood there for a moment, the weight of the coming battle heavy between them. But there was no time for hesitation, no time for doubt. The clock was ticking, and the fate of the colony rested on their shoulders. The night was deathly quiet as the small team of survivors made their way across the Martian plains, the red dust swirling around their feet like a shroud. Jack led the way, his senses alert for any signs of movement. Behind him, Mara and the others followed in tense silence, their makeshift weapons clutched tightly in their hands. The alien mothership loomed in the distance, its massive form casting a long shadow over the barren landscape. It was a terrifying sight, a reminder of the overwhelming power that had brought them to their knees. But Jack felt no fear, only a cold determination. This was their one shot at victory, and he would not let it slip through his fingers. They reached the base of the ship without incident, the silence almost oppressive in its intensity. Jack signaled for the team to stop, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of alien patrols. But the ship's defenses were focused outward, on the colony, leaving them an opening to strike. "Stay close and stay quiet," Jack whispered, his voice barely audible over the howling wind. "We move fast, we move together. No one gets left behind." Mara nodded, her expression grim. She adjusted the pack on her back, which contained the makeshift explosives they would use to disable the ship's systems. "Let's do this." They crept forward, their movements slow and deliberate. The alien ship was massive up close, its surface smooth and cold, with no visible seams or openings. But Mara had studied the ship's structure from the inside, and she knew where to look. She led them to a small maintenance hatch near the base, hidden from view by a protruding section of the hull. "Here," she whispered, pulling out a small device from her pack. She pressed it against the hatch, and after a few tense moments, the mechanism clicked open. They slipped inside, the air within the ship cool and stale. The corridors were narrow and dimly lit, with strange symbols and markings lining the walls. The ship was eerily silent, the usual hum of machinery absent, as if the vessel itself was holding its breath, waiting for the intruders to make their move. Jack led the way, his steps cautious as he navigated the unfamiliar terrain. They moved quickly, every second bringing them closer to their target. Mara's heart pounded in her chest, the weight of the explosives a constant reminder of the gravity of their mission. Finally, they reached the core of the ship, a massive chamber filled with alien machinery and pulsing energy. This was the heart of the mothership, the source of its power. If they could disable it, they could bring the entire ship down. Mara set to work immediately, her hands moving with practiced precision as she rigged the explosives to the central console. Jack and the others stood guard, their eyes scanning the chamber for any signs of movement. Time was running out, and they all knew it. Just as Mara finished setting the last charge, a low rumble echoed through the chamber. The floor beneath them trembled, and the air grew thick with a strange, oppressive energy. "They know we're here," Jack muttered, his grip tightening on his weapon. "We need to move." Mara nodded, her heart racing as she activated the timer on the explosives. "Done. Let's get out of here." But before they could move, the chamber door slid open with a hiss, revealing a towering figure clad in alien armor. The alien commander was a fearsome sight, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light, its presence radiating a palpable sense of power and menace. Jack raised his weapon, but the commander moved with lightning speed, disarming him with a single swipe of its arm. The rest of the team sprang into action, but the commander was too fast, too strong. One by one, they were struck down, their weapons useless against the alien's superior strength. Mara watched in horror as the commander advanced on Jack, its eyes glowing with malevolent intent. Jack fought back with everything he had, but it was clear he was no match for the alien's overwhelming power. In a moment of desperate clarity, Mara realized what needed to be done. She activated the manual override on the explosives, setting them to detonate in seconds instead of minutes. There would be no escape now, but it was the only way to ensure the mission's success. "Jack," she screamed, her voice filled with urgency. "Get out of here. Now." Jack glanced back at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and resolve. He knew what she was about to do, and he knew there was no other way. "I'll hold it off," he shouted, his voice raw with emotion. "Go, Mara. You have to survive." Mara's heart twisted in her chest, but she forced herself to move. She turned and ran, her legs pumping as she raced through the corridors, the sound of Jack's battle with the commander echoing behind her. She didn't look back, knowing that if she did, she wouldn't be able to keep going. The ship trembled beneath her feet as the explosives detonated, the force of the blast shaking the entire vessel. Mara stumbled, the shockwave nearly knocking her off her feet, but she kept moving, driven by a single, burning need to escape. She burst out of the maintenance hatch just as the ship began to collapse in on itself, the alien technology crumbling under the weight of its own destruction. Mara threw herself to the ground, covering her head as debris rained down around her. For a moment, there was nothing but darkness and silence, the world reduced to a void of emptiness. And then, slowly, the dust began to settle, and the harsh light of the Martian sun broke through the clouds. Mara pushed herself to her feet, her body trembling with exhaustion and adrenaline. The alien mothership lay in ruins before her, its once imposing form now a twisted, smoking wreck. She stared at it in disbelief, hardly able to comprehend what had just happened. But then the reality of it hit her, and a wave of grief and relief washed over her. Jack was gone, along with the others who had sacrificed themselves for this moment. But they had done it. They had won. The sound of distant cheers reached her ears, and she turned to see the other survivors emerging from their hiding places, their faces alight with hope and triumph. They had seen the ship fall, and they knew what it meant. Mars was free. In the weeks that followed, the survivors of New Eden began the arduous task of rebuilding their shattered colony. The alien threat had been vanquished, but the scars of the invasion remained. The streets were lined with debris, the buildings damaged and crumbling, but there was a sense of renewed purpose among the colonists, a determination to rise from the ashes and reclaim their world. Ilara stood at the edge of the colony, watching as the survivors worked together to clear the rubble and repair the damage. She felt a deep sense of pride in what they had accomplished, but also a profound sadness for the lives that had been lost. Mara approached her, her expression somber but resolute. "We did it, Ilara. We took back Mars." Ilara nodded, her eyes misting with tears. "We did. But it came at a great cost." Mara's gaze drifted to the makeshift memorial they had erected in the center of the colony, a tribute to those who had given their lives in the battle for Mars. Jack's name was among them, etched into the stone alongside the others, he would have been proud, Mara said softly. He knew what was at stake, and he didn't hesitate. Elara placed a hand on Mara's shoulder, offering what comfort she could. He was a hero, Mara. They all were. And because of them, we have a future. Mara nodded, her resolve hardening. We'll rebuild, stronger than before. We'll make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain. Elara smiled, the first genuine smile she had felt in days. We will. And we'll be ready for whatever comes next. As the sun rose over the Martian horizon, casting its warm light over the colony, Elara felt a sense of hope bloom in her chest. They had survived the darkest of times, and now they stood on the brink of a new dawn, and this time, they would be ready.